What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Coaches Show. Here we got the Monday night quarterback with the coaches, man. It's yours truly, Coach Smook. Got Coach Jay here tonight, and we got Coach Sean. We got the full staff. We got the full coaching staff here for y'all tonight, man. About to dive into some interesting things tonight. Boy, do we got some surprises for you. But before we get into it, make sure you're dropping the likes. Make sure you're dropping the subscribes if you're not a subscriber already. Make sure that you're locked in here with Bama football on YouTube as we continue to bring you the unfiltered, the real Alabama content. So checking in, Coach Jay, how you feeling today, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling really, really good, man. Just ready to talk about some Alabama, Michigan, for the most part, and just ready to get into it.
Let's get into it, man. Coach Sean, how you feeling, brother?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. About the same. Likewise with Coach Jay. Ready to talk football about this Michigan game, and let's get to it.
Let's get to it, man. Hey, roll tide to everybody in the chat that's pulling up, dropping your comments. Make sure you come in, drop us some roll ties. Make sure you dropping them thumbs up, man. Make sure we're trying to get this video to over 100 likes, man. 100 likes. We're trying to get this video over to 100 likes. So, yes, just help us out by sharing, hitting that subscribe. Going to keep hitting these goals, man. Roll tide, Cassandra in the chat said, Merry Christmas, Tide fam. Roll tide to you.
Roll
We got
Tide.
DeMarco Brooks in the chat. What's good, brother? What's up, Bama fam? He said, coaches, roll tide, roll tide. I see it.
Tide.
And then we got Brent Shepard, my guy, man, been real active with me on Twitter, been in the Discord, been seeing you everywhere, man. Appreciate the support tonight. Roll tide and Merry Christmas coming from Montgomery Gump Town. From the Gump. All right, y'all. So we got some interesting things to go over tonight. Tonight we promised y'all we would dive into the schematics, dive into the real breakdown of what we see as far as how this matchup can play out between Alabama Crimson Tide and the Michigan Wolverines here on New Year's is when we're going to be kicking off, man. What better way to start off the new year with than to bring home a victory, a Rose Bowl victory that out there in beautiful Pasadena, California, man. Just overall feels about the venue, man. Coach Jay, Coach Sean, how y'all feeling, man? Y'all know we usually go out west. Coach Saban love it out there out west. So how y'all feeling with Coach Saban and just the Rose Bowl and how this team is where this team is headed?
I personally hope our fans travel out there, man. Our West it's a whole. I got a lot of family out there, man, in Los Angeles. So it's a whole nother deal out there, right? College football is for the fans and people that live out there. College football is sort of out there because so much to do. I just hope our fans, and that's an expensive trip too. That's a very expensive trip out there, no matter how you want to slice it, right? So I hope our fans are able to get there, and God, hope that we get to another one, wherever the second game is. You know what I mean? Where the championship game is.
All right, Coach Jay.
Yeah, man, I like the Rose Bowl venue. I know a lot of people would have preferred if we would have played in Louisiana, but I think that for the most part, when you play down there in Bourbon Street, it's not, players can lose a little focus. But no, the Rose Bowl, you know what I'm saying? Mardi Gras, but no, seriously though. I think the Rose Bowl is a pretty good venue for us. For the most part, we've gotten some experience. We won there before in 2009 for the national championship against Texas. And overall wise, I think that, again, I don't think either team is going to have an advantage. I mean, Michigan, for the most part, again, they're near me, so they got to fly, thousands of miles, just like how Alabama has to do the exact same thing. Both fan bases can travel really, really well. But like Coach Sean said, yeah, I hope that our fans can go out there and travel. And again, 2009, we definitely did. We outpacked Texas in that game. So I think that we can do the exact same here. And I think that this is going to be a more neutral-sided game. And I can't wait for it.
You know what made me say that? My bad, Coach Mook.
Go ahead,
I
brother.
know it's not the Rose Bowl, but when we played Clemson out there, I had a lot of frat bros went out there, bro. They said the Clemson fans outnumbered us, out there in the Silicon Valley, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that West. I know it's the Rose Bowl's in Pasadena. It's not quite as far as San Fran and all of that, but yeah, I hope we hope the Alabama fans show up in droves and get ready to show up for the next game after that.
Same, man. I'm excited to see these players get out to the West Coast, man. They don't get a lot of those cross conference matchups that take them out west. So it's good to see that. I'm just glad we're not playing in Arizona. I hate when we play in that Cardinal Stadium. I think is where most of our bad luck happens. But I'm just glad to see these boys travel, man. Coach Saban, like I said, it's something about when he get on that West Coast, he get in his little surfer boy mode or whatever, he get in cool boy G mode and just he get all Hollywood and he locked in, man. And it's a good sight to see when he's showing up to these interviews with so much energy and spark, man. It's like he's excited about coaching his team and the challenge that's presented itself, a challenge that we're going to dive into tonight. But even before that, let's talk about some of this transfer portal news, man, involving some guys at Alabama. We saw a pump fake by a guy that we believe is going to be the next in line at the tackle position, by Elijah Pritchett. What was that? What was you all's reaction to that? I didn't get to see much of a reaction on Twitter. I don't think many people got to catch wind of it before it was rescinded. So
it's just, when I first saw it, I was a little confused because I'm like, well, wait a minute, you have a great opportunity to start next year. But obviously he rescinded his offer. So I think he probably, I don't know if he talked to the coaching staff about it or if he simply just talked to his family about that decision. But, whoever was able to convince him in order for him to come back, I think that's good news. I think, again, when you look at his upside, 6'6", 325-pound offensive tackle, I think he has upside to his game. And obviously, he didn't win the starting job this year, but, if J.C. Latham does decide to go to the draft, that's probably going to be the first guy to call up, and he's going to have a great opportunity to start. So, again, the job's not given, but, you hear all this transfer portal stuff going on. It's just like we've seen so much in this portal. We've seen starters that were legit first-round talents decide to transfer, even from prestigious programs like, Ohio State lost Kyle McCord. Who would have thought that Kyle McCord had the job in the bag, and all of a sudden he's just transferred to Syracuse or potentially to Syracuse. Like, it's just like we've seen a lot of stuff happen right now in the portal, so I'm not really shocked about what kind of goes on anymore. But yeah, I think it's good to have a player like Elijah Pritchett who adds a lot more depth to the tackle position and a guy that can compete for the starting job. So I'm glad to have him back.
Facts.
For me, man, I actually during the season, I thought about this. I promise you, crossed my mind. I said, with this guy playing the same position as Caden, I bet he entertained leaving because of Caleb's play toward the end of the season. I swear that I said, I bet, being that he's a redshirt freshman and Caden's a freshman, I said, I watched this guy hop in the portal. I promise I said it. But I think they sold him on Latham is leaving. You've had some experience playing left side. Obviously, it's a different position, different footwork, different hand placement. Obviously, your pass pro kick slide is different, just different little nuances. But I think he will get his opportunity to play right side. That's a whole fact. So I think they had to sell him on that for him to dip his little toe in the transfer portal and pull it out. So the guy will have a chance, a very good opportunity to come in and play the right side.
I don't. I'm gonna need somebody to fact check me. My boy, Cat Daddy, he be in the chat, man. Fact check. But I think Pritchett came out of high school playing the right side. I think he was pushed to the left side coming out of high school as a freshman. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember some highlights because I'm from the area. He went to Carver High School in Columbus, Georgia. I remember seeing a lot of highlights. Their running back was a highly recruited guy too, and I remember seeing him in those highlights being on the right side for sure. I don't know if that was his junior year, senior year, but I remember him being on that right side, and hearing that Alabama was recruiting him that year. But yeah, glad to see him back. That's all I got to say about it. Being the hometown kid, all that type of stuff. Glad to see he's back. Hopefully, it's with a mindset to compete. To like Coach Sean said, and Coach Jay said, with the mindset that nothing's going to be given, everything's got to be earned. One guy I'm happy to see land in a good spot that I think he's going to have great opportunities is Ja'Cory Brooks to land over at Louisville. That style of offense, man. You couldn't ask for better for a quarterback. Not a quarterback, but a wide receiver to go into a system that invests in quarterbacks who they used to, rip the ball. Saw a little dip this year with Plummer. They really didn't have any wide receiver weapons, honestly. You want to be honest. They didn't have many explosive weapons. So Brooks stepping into an opportunity. Looks like a calculated decision and well thought out decision by him committing to Louisville. I'm curious to see and excited to see what this young man does. Any comments on that, Coach Jay, Coach Sean?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good on that one.
Yeah, man. I did see they had Isaiah Hastings in the portal also.
Yeah, I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah, Anquan Barnes looks like he committed to Colorado. Man, kind of. I'm not feeling it for him. I mean, it's a spot. You know, you saw how their defensive front was, but they had DeMoy Kennedy, you know, riding the bench. He didn't have any type of real playing time, and I know that kid's a quality player, you know. So I don't know what's going on over there. It was fun to watch that ride that they had early in the season. There was a lot of hype around it, but congrats to the young man.
Yeah.
Wish him nothing but the best always. Just you always want to see them make the right decisions, and you know, we never know what they're going through, what they're dealing with, and what perks or whatever is involved. Man, this is their right to do whatever what they feel is best, and I'm just glad the kid is not out there wasting time, you know, going through all the hoopla, getting somewhere and getting into it, get into it. So that's a good thing to see. But let's get into it, y'all. Y'all came here tonight. We wanted to talk about this Alabama-Michigan matchup. And tonight we're going to dive in on the playbook. We're going to get into it. We want to start with just tonight we're focusing only on Alabama's defense versus Michigan's offense. And Coach Jay, if you could, man, just overall, man, some key matchups that you think Alabama needs to take advantage of when it comes to our defense versus their offense.
Well, I think obviously our defensive line versus their defensive line is going to be a huge key matchup for us. For the most part, this is going to be a very interesting game in the tail for the most part. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to say, there we go. But no, this is going to be a very interesting tale in the fact that we have a team in Michigan that heavily utilizes their offensive line. They love to run a lot of pin and pull where they simply like to pull those guards and simply like to pull those tackles. They like to go in emergency case situations. If they go against a lot more edge rushers that can simply just pin them back a little bit. They like to go a little bit more 12-13. They like to run a lot of jumbo packages. They like to bring in Hilton and Tremente, those kind of extra, that 6th and 7th extra linemen over there, just kind of squeeze in those defensive tackles so they won't really play their gap assignment defenses. That's why when you kind of see like Michigan, how they start off, they always start off slow. They never start off huge. They always start off with 2-3 yard chunk per carry type plays with both Corum and Edwards. And then all of a sudden, in the second half goes once they make that adjustment and they start to bring in these different type of formations on their offensive line, all of a sudden, boom, 20, what was 2-3 yards in the first half, all of a sudden, second half, 6-7 yards per carry, and then all of a sudden they have a run where one pops off for 20 yards. Happens every single game with this team. Happened with Iowa. It happened with Ohio State. Remember that touchdown when they lost Winter? They immediately went on the pin and pull. Blake Corum, they literally stoned that play, right? Ohio State defensive line did a really, really good job of stopping them, especially, and we're going to talk about this in a second. Their tackles are trash. We'll talk about that. But they use a lot of that pin and pull, and Blake Corum was able to kind of come off on the zone, was able to squeeze it off for a 24-yard touchdown. I mean, they do it all the time. So I always call Michigan this type of team. They're the boa constrictor of college football. They're a team that they don't start off completely fast, but this is the team that if you kind of waver off a little bit, if you just waver off a little bit, if you start to kind of fall off your detail a little bit, if you start to kind of fall off your assignment, even if you dominate them for 3 quarters, eventually sooner or later they're going to find an exploit and they're going to try to execute on that. That's one thing I'll give Michigan a lot of credit for. They're very, very disciplined and they're very, very what's the word I'm trying to look for? They're very, very
sound. They're fundamentally sound.
Yeah, they're fundamentally sound and they never panic. They never panic. They're like because they're so confident in their defense, continue to get crucial stops, continue to get the ball back for them, that all of a sudden they get the ball. All of a sudden they you don't even waver, don't even worry about it. We could be down by 7 or 14 points. We are going to tire out this football team, and so that's what Michigan heavily relies on. Coach Moore, For Michigan, their offensive coordinator, he has made it reluctantly clear that he wants to have a little bit more of a balanced look, but he doesn't want to go on that pro spread that they run a lot of times. And right, they run and they run a lot of pre-snap motion. They pretty much use a lot of speed and a lot of those huge counter concepts that they did in 21 and 22. They decided to say, you know what, we're going to run a lot of duo. We're going to run a lot of inside zone. We are simply going to absolutely just choke the life of our opponent until eventually they quit in the fourth quarter. So Michigan's a very interesting team, but I think the problem is that you have an Alabama defensive line in most cases that is literally built to stop teams like Michigan. They're built to stop teams like it. They're built to stop those counters. They're built to stop those inside zones. They're built to stop those dual type packages. And even when they run jumbo, because they have, it's weird with their tight ends, right? They have their left tight end and they have like the right tight end, and they're tremendous run blockers. I'll give them a lot of credit. If we want to talk about who are the best run blockers in college football, it's probably going to have to go to them. But overall wise, the problem is you're going against a defensive line that is built for it. So I think kind of the questions is, do you want to try to run off your base nickel? Do you want to try to maybe, if this is the game plan where you want to bring down extra defensive linemen a little bit down? It's going to be very interesting to see what Alabama kind of does. But, for the most part, Michigan's going to be heavily relying on not scoring 30, 40 points. This is the team that if they're going to win, they're going to beat you by maybe by 7 points, maybe even 14 points, but they're going to constrict the life out of you. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Right. Coach Sean, I wanted you to, I'm glad Coach Jay alluded to the defensive line and how important the personnel grouping is going to matter, what we're going to possibly commit to. Talk about the linebacker, and I mean second level with our weak side, our Mike. Sometimes we see Braswell on that second level in that true weak side position sometimes. And even about, the secondary, how the being able to bring guys in the box. Tell us your look on that aspect of how we can align against what Michigan likes to do.
I think that this game is going to be extremely important for our entire front seven. Like when I say front seven, I'm talking about the true front seven. Because one thing I noticed when I did watch Michigan, like Coach Jay said, I wasn't impressed with their tackles, but I was impressed with their interior. Their interior is pretty aggressive. The plays I saw and the team, and it was highlights again. So you know how highlights are. They'll show you the good plays. They don't show you the bad ones. And I went back and watched some of the regular game tape. They're inside, those guards are pretty stout, man. They pretty stout and they move people. So I think we got to be fundamentally sound. We got to be gap sound, man. The gap integrity has to be A1, because it's like we was talking about. One thing with Michigan is different than Georgia. Georgia, to me, this year, sort of, their identity wasn't what it usually is. They had a real identity with Stetson, right? It was simple, it was basic, but Georgia knew who they were, right? This year, it's like they didn't know if they wanted to be a passing team. They didn't know if they wanted to be a run team. We don't know if we want to feature Carson Beck. I seen games where they really struggled on offense because the identity just wasn't quite there like it usually is. Michigan knows exactly who they are. I seen a 3rd and 7, and these guys ran a simple inside zone play to Corum, simple inside zone, and that right guard absolutely destroyed those guys, man. Very powerful guy, very low to the ground, very, very powerful inside zone running game. I noticed that they run a lot of inside plays as well. They run a lot of smash routes, a lot of cross buck routes out of the shotgun. They are very, 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 very good in the trenches. So I think our middle linebackers will have to be physical this game. This ain't gonna be a game where Michigan gonna try to fool you. They'll run some. I seen it against the Iowa team. They ran a lot of 11 personnel, 3 receivers with JJ McCarthy, but it was never a threat of going downfield. It was always throwing it to Edwards, check down to the running back, to the tight end. I think his name is what, Loveland? What is it? Loveland, I think it is. The tight end. Yeah. They throw to him a lot of the little short routes and the intermediate stuff. And so I think our linebackers, our outside and inside, have to be.
They use Loveland.
Loveland, I think his name is. So I think those guys have to be extremely.
And then Barner's the blocking tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's good, man. He's extremely good. He's fundamentally sound. He's strong, good leverage. So I think we got to be really, really, really sound in the middle linebackers, because Michigan will be patient. Michigan is like Coach Jay said, they're not going to panic. 3rd and 6, they're not going to come out and do something out of characteristic. they're going to be patient. They're going to pound the ball. They're going to inside zone you to death, try to catch you out of position and run that thing on you. So this is a game I think we have to be extremely fundamentally sound. If we just be fundamentally sound, don't do nothing different, I think we'll be just fine in this game.
Right.
This team is not going to try to trick you. They're not going to come out with a double, triple, reverse, and none of that. They're going to line up 11 personnel, 12 personnel, sometimes 13 personnel, and do what they do best, especially on the interior.
I totally agree. And that's why for this game, I'm curious to see how you guys talk about each level of the defense on the field, off the field, in the booth. Kevin Steele, what he's seeing as far as personnel matchings. A key thing I think is going to be key for us early on in this game is to establish which front. We all know that it all starts in the trenches. Which front is going to provide us the containment and penetration gap sound assignment look that we're looking for, so that our linebackers can clean up, like something that the defensive front did so well after the first drive against Georgia. We went from the odd man front to the even, and we allowed those linebackers to create space to play in. They play sound responsibility, and I feel like the more that Kevin still puts on his inside linebackers to decipher, the better they've been playing. And I mean, like, meaning giving Deontay Lawson the power to say, hey, this is even, boom, you got cleanup, you got weak side contained, let me handle coverage, let me decipher if I need to spiral or drop out to the flat, because he's been doing a great job in that. You see, when he's healthy, his recovery speed is something that doesn't get enough attention. And I think this game, with this amount of time to prepare, Kevin Steele is going to put a lot more responsibility on Deontay Lawson. I believe Trez Marshall showed improvement that Auburn game. He also played real solid, played lights out, honestly, just what you would want from your starting weak side guy against Georgia. I mean, the rotation between him and Campbell is just, for a game like this, you kind of just have your pickings, because both of them are solid behind it. Well, can't say Marshall has been the whole season, but for the most part, man, behind the tackle, behind the line of scrimmage, man, these guys create a lot of havoc. They create a lot of tackles for losses when they are rotating there and they're fresh. And a key thing I want to end with is the fact that this defense is having 3 weeks to get healthy, man. And I'm talking about on each level. You got Jaheim Otis, who's been playing, about 70-80% for the past 3 weeks and still being effective. Tim Keenan coming off of a minor injury. How close to 100% do we get him? Tim Smith back to 100%. Trez Marshall and Deontay Lawson playing closer to 100% to start the playoffs back. And then with all the extra bowl practices, I'm curious to see does Christian Story and Devontae Smith find a way to get inserted into that one high role that I'm pretty sure we're going to have to use at some point against Michigan, with how they, like you was talking about earlier, Sean, how they like this go into those 11 personnel and get those 3 wide receiver looks. I'm curious to see which safety early gets the look, because if we're talking about how Michigan will spread you out and still want that aggressive closing, you're going to need Christian Story and Devontae Smith, because they close relentlessly when that ball is in the air. They don't second guess it. They don't try to cheat the routes, none of that. They play it honest, and they close on the ball in the air. They may not have the same explosive speed or, I guess, twitch as Jalen Key, but Story has been our most solid top safety this season when he's had his reps. Even the game where he came in early and struggled against Arkansas, after that game, he has looked like a veteran safety that you would want to play your over the top safety net and against a team like Michigan.
Facts.
So going into it, man, we got a treat for y'all tonight. We want to get into this thing. Y'all said y'all wanted to see us try to break down some things, get into the film room, I guess you could say that. But what we're going to call this segment here that we're going to start bringing to you over the next few weeks, y'all, is going to jump in the playbook. And we got a little special thing we about to do tonight. Let's see if we can get it popped up. Oh, and there it go. We got the chart up there. We got the film. We got the, whatever y'all want to call it, the play sheet, got the diagram. And what y'all see here, man, we're able to edit this, move the plays around, set up formations. Tonight, we're going to just focus on alignment. and what the type of looks that we could possibly see with Alabama, what the Michigan players like to run in certain situations. Got 3 different scenarios that we're going to touch up on. I'm gonna let the panelists. We're gonna start at the bottom. We're gonna let Coach Sean go first, and kind of just describe what you want to talk about that you saw them that they like to do. We'll set the formation up like you want it, and we'll explain what they like to do and how we should see Alabama defend it, or how we think Alabama is going to defend it.
All
So
right,
just
first
walk
of
us
all,
through it, brother.
okay, first of all, for me, I really watched I wanted to watch the most latest game. I watched the Iowa game, and I really watched. Iowa has a pretty good front four. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Very good. You know, very aggressive, very fundamentally sound. Not super duper athletic, but very, very, very fundamentally sound. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. Right? They're not going to chase you down too much, but they're very fundamentally sound, very aggressive up front, and they was giving Michigan some problems. I seen Michigan for the first time really go away from the 22s and the 12 personnel. If you watch that Iowa game, a lot of that game they was an 11 personnel with multiple receivers. And the
Right.
one play that really caught my attention, I ran it back like 5 times. I wanted to see what Iowa done to to make these guys want to do that type of thing. I think that's how they're gonna play Alabama. I don't think Michigan is going to. I think they'll come out and try to impose their will, but I think as the game goes on, they're gonna play us like they played Iowa. I really believe they feel that's where their matchups are. So I saw a play where these guys lined up. They were in 11 personnel, one back, 3 receivers on what they had. I think 3 receivers on one side, and what I noticed is they was baiting Iowa. They had ran like 2 plays to the strong side 2 times, just a simple zone play with the running back Corum right off the 2 hole. They ran that play like 2 times back to back. They came back this time in your left guard and your left tackle. They pulled those guys right as if they were going to run the play again. And this time to the outside. They pulled both of these guys to the right side, and Iowa bid it for it, man. Their entire D slanted that way. The linebackers took off that way. The safeties took off that way. And these guys took a jig step with their quarterback, McCarthy, and flipped it to the running back going back opposite the play side. And it put the cornerback in a one-on-one situation with the running back, and he absolutely destroyed the cornerback. I think the cornerback was scared to tackle him. One of those dive at your feet things, you know what I mean? And Corum picked up about 20 yards on that play. And that was probably his biggest play, if you ask me, because I think he had 16 carries for like 50 something yards. He didn't
Right.
have a lot of running room in that Iowa game, if I remember. If you check the stats, I think it was 16 for 52, maybe, or 50 something yards. But this
Yeah.
was a very important play that I seen that he did pick up positive yards. And it did tell me that if these guys can't run the ball doing their normal power plays, that they will resort to some things like this. I don't think that's in their wheelhouse all year
Mm-mm.
to do that because, like I told the guys, Michigan knows exactly who they are.
Right.
Power very, very strong from guard to guard. If you look from guard to guard, that's why Coach Smook said it'll be very important how we line up, what front do we play, because from their left guard to their right guard, the interior is very powerful. Like Coach Jay say, I'm not really impressed with their tackles. I really not. I think Dallas can attack those guys. Chris can attack those guys. They're big, they're strong, but they're not very athletic at all. But they're guards, the guard, the center, the guard. Those guys are extremely good blockers. And like Coach Jay said, they have a tight end that's an extremely good blocker. So for me, on defense, I think that goes back to what I said earlier. We got to be very, very fundamentally sound because Blake Corum is one of the best backs we played. I don't think that I'm not afraid of them as a duo like that. I think Edwards is your scat back, the quick guy. Even though Corum's not a big guy, he runs with power. That little guy runs with power. He knows how to run behind his pads, and they'll give it to him. So that play was one that I really, really wanted to highlight because that could really bite us if we're in an alignment that doesn't bode well for us.
Is
If
is
you,
is this something? Not to cut you off, and I was
yeah,
just trying to think of because I remember the formation wise, and when you said
yeah,
11 personnel, I remember us playing Tennessee. I want to say, or not, it might have been Ole Miss had a similar look like this, but what Ole Miss will do, they'll bring another true wide receiver out here. You know, they
mhm,
won't have a double tight end look out here. They'll see, but what Michigan does, Michigan will have their tight end, their small tight end, their receiving tight end out in that 2 slot, and they'll have the blocking tight end here, and they'll bunch these guys up, this same
Yeah.
personnel group, and they'll bunch these guys
Several.
up.
I've seen that
They'll
several times. Yep.
they'll shift them in, and I mean they'll shift these two in, but make him turn to more for H back that allows him to play off the line here. So I mean they do a lot out of their personnel because they're not trying to push the ball downfield. They want to
Right.
get hats on hats. They want to get guys caught up in traffic so they can just create havoc for this run game that eventually it always tends to open up holes like Coach Jay said. So but my question to you was alignment wise, thinking about what Kevin Steele and Coach Saban, what Alabama does personnel wise, got heavy personnel out here right now, meaning we have two true defensive ends out there.
Yeah.
Meaning you're gonna have Otis and a Boygby and Keenan probably this game being everybody's healthy. So you got Keenan in the middle, a Boygby, and you might have a Boygby here. He usually plays weak side. So if the running back was on that side, a Boygby will play this back side here. And then this will be Jaheim Otis. You got Lawson. And you got your weak side linebacker. In this set with the 11 personnel, because they did have Trez out there a lot, and we were asking that question last game. Why is Campbell not getting the looks on those wide cover looks? I trust Campbell more, but either one, the way that they've been playing these last two games, I'm not too upset. But
and remember this too before you go. Ole Miss, that was a very good point because Ole Miss's offense, these guys they're trying to create space matchups. They're trying to get you in horrible matchups for us, great matchups for them, creating space, creating things of that nature. With Michigan, it's like you said, I think they're just trying to catch you up in traffic. Let's see if we can catch them in an odd front. Let's see if we can get some cheap yards like that. To me, that's what the Big Ten is all about. To me. Even when you go zone, even when they run, even when they go run their zone plays, it's not the score. They don't go downfield. Justin Fields is not there anymore. When you look at these guys in the Big Ten, give me one offense that's super explosive going downfield.
None, brother. And that's the point I was making earlier. Like, even with their defenses, that's the reason why they have so many defenses ranked in the top 15 or whatever it was. I think they got the top three, statistically, the top three defenses in the country come out of that conference. Why? Because they don't have a conference with wide receivers that are taking the tops off. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best wide receiver in that conference. And if he was in the SEC, he would have been like the fourth best or the fifth, statistically, fourth or fifth best in our conference. So I'm just curious, but Coach Jay, alignment wise, am I accurate? Can you see that? Would y'all agree this would be a similar look to how Bama would kind of play this? Even if we want to show pressure, we always with these odd man fronts, we always, even fronts, I'm sorry. We always head up with the tackle, get our ends based off the running back. He definitely shading outside there. He would be head up. That's his base alignment, but I see a split there. Because you got Caleb Downs and Malachi Moore as these two guys. You trusting them to walk in the box. That's what I am glad to see. We have safeties that can really walk down and be true hybrid linebackers. Caleb and, oh my God, the way they both play in run support as far as walking down in the box, it's like having athletic linebackers. So I think that's a plus for us. But alignment-wise, I think this is what we'll generally see. We know Coach Saban allows these weak side guys to hug that line of scrimmage, give that look. It will drop them back into that hang area, or we'll send them and let him drop back and he become primary. He's their overhang here for safety, and they got to sort this out in the man coverage on the backside. You sending this pressure to keep him from looking, or forcing him to a quick look. That's why I like Christian Story and Malachi Moore working out this over top situation. Malachi's crashing anything quick there. Christian Story, same thing. Anything come across on the post, we've seen him just, concept wise, just understand what offenses are trying to do when we give them alignments that may create favorable matchups at pre-snap.
And remember, when Malachi is like that, he doesn't hide it very well. You could tell from his alignment which shoulder he's covering on the wide receiver. He's almost, it looks like he's in pass off mode, but he's not.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's very, I like Malachi right there, definitely.
And I love it because when he gets his calls with, and this is something that I've seen Coach Saban and T-Rob do with the secondary. They're trusting these guys over here to give pre-snap looks. You know what I'm saying? A lot of pre-snap motion on these perimeters, on the boundaries, especially when you get strong side Amos and Arnold right here. Amos on the perimeter, Arnold here. When you get this type of look, man, that's your two best, cover guys, sound cover guys on the team right there. Being able to decipher and just create looks no matter what concepts they get. Stagger release where he's releasing out here, what they like to do, try to get guys on the perimeter block, try to put this guy in conflict with reading the quarterback or playing the lane. Like, this is exactly what Alabama trains for. This is what they prepare for year in and year out. The type of offense that Michigan is bringing to the table is what we prepare for. Coach Jay, I don't want to get away from you, brother. I know I get on my little rants, but just breaking this down with y'all is just becoming exciting because I'm just seeing how, just like you want. I want to talk about their tackles versus this front. You highlighted that early. Let's get into it, man. Give me a formation.
Yeah, can I? Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about is, can I talk about their inside zone game? What they like to do? Yeah. So so their best. Yeah, so their best play is running inside zone. They love to run inside zone a lot. This is their most successful play, and they haven't done this a lot. They did this a lot for the first half. Second half, they're starting to go away with this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they really start to kind of bring this up. So what Michigan really likes to do is that, for the most part, they like to run a crap ton inside zone. Their guards, their centers. Nugent is their key player on the offensive line. Why their guards are so good is because of pretty much those combo blocks that Drake Nugent likes to really do. He is a monster. I will give him a lot of credit on that. He will dominate, and that's why, like, when you saw Zach Winter, who's arguably the best guard in America, when he's out, all of a sudden their backup guard comes down. He looks just like Zach Winter because he had a lot of help just because of Drake Nugent. But what Michigan really likes to do with their inside zone game is that they like to set you up. This is what we talked about earlier, where Michigan is extremely patient. So with JJ McCarthy, what he likes to do sometimes is that sometimes what looks like an inside zone can quickly turn into a quick RPO. And this is where he's going to read. He can read the defensive ends. This is what they kind of did with Penn State. He'll read the defensive ends to see if they're going to crash, if the strong side's going to crash down a little bit. And he's also going to read. And sometimes he will also read the safety. The safety likes to crash down. What they like to do is they like to slip Loveland. They like to slip their tight end Loveland up to wide open up the seam. And this is what they like to do in 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2 situations, typically where you think, okay, well, obviously it's going to be more of a run game, so I'm going to simply crash down here. Because one thing that pretty much Ohio State defensive ends and Alabama defensive ends, Penn State defensive ends, they're extremely athletic. Now, Ohio State's more power. They're more power, so they can handle more of those inside, those RPOs. Penn State is more speed, right? Isaac and Chop Robinson, they crushed Michigan's tackles because they simply just couldn't handle the speed, right? That's why they kind of went more into a jumbo formation in that game. But what again, Coach Moore, for the most part, like what Coach Sean implemented, he likes to run some misdirections. He likes to really, he's pretty good when it comes to setting up certain formations, certain design plays to get those one-on-one matchups for his players. And like I said, Loveland is going to be, he's an interesting player because for some, like when you look at him, he looks like a 5'2", 40 runner. He's a prototypical kind of slow guy, but he's a 6'6", I think 270-pound blocker. Him and Barner are excellent run blockers. So that inside zone game is going to be extremely interesting because we've seen that if you can stop it, Michigan, they won't panic, but they'll slowly try to make adjustments and they'll try to include everything in. But that's their key design play. They love to run that. They run that play more than anything else.
Coach Jay, why you ain't tell me Pete Golden was in the chat, man? Why you ain't tell me? We got a real defensive coordinator in this. Pete, thank you for being at Ole Miss this year, man. We appreciate you. But anyways, alignment wise, can you see the chart, Coach Jay?
Yeah, I can.
All right. What formation we want to design this out of? Is this that
trying to think what we can do here. So I'm trying to think. So with our outside linebackers, I'm thinking, can we can try to so with their inside zone formation, we can try to hug those defensive with those outside linebackers. We can try to hug them down a little bit.
Yeah.
We can try to hug them down.
And this is where Alabama trusts their and this is why I was talking about having Kevin Steele and experienced defensive front, experienced middle linebackers. This is where it's key at, because these guys here have to determine what their key is going to be pre-snap. And that's one thing that throughout the season, when Alabama gave up big runs, it was because they made their call and it was literally the wrong fit. They took on the responsibility that wasn't meant for them because of the pre-snap look. And so with 3 weeks to prepare, you're giving a guy like Lawson and Marshall, who were both on point, the whole second quarter to the last score that Georgia was able to earn. And I say they earned them when Beck started making a few key plays on their last scoring drive. But these guys are getting weeks and weeks of just film study, man, to go and look at tendencies. And I don't care what type of wrinkles, guards, centers, it's hard to break tendencies. It's hard to break tendencies because once you get in a rhythm, once you get in your fit, we saw with Caden Parker, once he got in his fit, nothing has changed about Caden's technique. Everything has been so sound because he's got in his fit. This team feels like they're in that fit. So you don't want to do too much to adjust that. So alignment-wise, if we go heavy, and I only put OL out there because I know we'll go heavy with Turner playing basically in technique. But you got Lawson, Marshall, you got Keenan, you got Payne, who we've seen come in as that other tackle.
And coach, what's funny, just real quick, Trezor 17 is going to be a key player here for if when it comes to stopping inside zones, because what did he do well last week? He was a cleanup linebacker. And he did extremely well. He did a phenomenal job last week of engaging with defensive linemen. He would put dudes on their ass and simply just exploit and expose plays and like he did a really, really good job of doing that. But it's interesting because it's gonna be a lot of combo blocking with Nugent and pretty much those two guards. So it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of happens there.
You seen what I just designed? I don't know if I did that correctly, but that's usually what you get when you want your let me put my center in the right spot. You're not supposed to have a ball. But that's typically what you get when you talk about inside zone run blocking scheme. I like the way Michigan runs their zone scheme.
Go ahead, I do too. Let me say this too, Coach. I seen another couple of plays. They ran it 3 times within the first 3 quarters. The same set, but they had a receiver in the slot over here on the left side, and I think it was number 7. I don't know his name, but I know he's number 7. And they brought him in. Brought him in motion, and they handed him the ball, and every tight end in that formation blocked, and Iowa played it to perfection. Same lineup that you got on the screen right now. You know what I mean? 3-man front, both linebackers played it sound. Cornerback came up. Yep. They brought him across the formation and they handed him the ball, sort of like a jet sweep. And they played it to perfection. Iowa played it the perfect gap scheme. They played the leverage was awesome. The integrity was awesome. Outside linebacker played it perfectly. Iowa's front, believe it or not, Iowa's front 4 played them very well.
They did. Well. And that's what I was having a debate, and I'm gonna pull this off the screen so we could talk to the fans. We're gonna get into another play. We're gonna get into another play with Coach Jay and myself and Coach Sean here in a second. Let me get this off the screen. But yeah, that's what I was having a debate today about. And we're gonna talk football, y'all. But today was a funny topic dealing with Alabama's defense. And I honestly don't believe that people realize that this Michigan offense has yet to see a complete team, let alone a complete defense where you have proven talent at each level. I think the most talented defense they've probably seen and that I will vouch for is probably Penn State. And I mean, like, where they had dudes, not just guys that are going to be disciplined and do their job and work hard, but they got a couple guys on the defensive side that can go first round, late first round. over the next 2 years. But to see a team like Iowa give them fits consistently every drive, the scoreboard didn't tell the story. All you got to go do is look at the offensive box score to get the true story of how that game really went. That the Michigan offense wasn't dominant in that game, and then to see a team like Maryland, we saw Maryland's defensive struggles, we saw their offensive line struggles, but they took Michigan to the wire. It's just sometimes you just look at tendencies, man, and that's what I'm going to continue to allude to, because everybody like to talk about numbers, but look at what those numbers are being put up against, and then look at the tendencies that's producing those numbers. I mean, I don't think Blake Corum is outdoing the amount of talent that we have at Alabama. We're going 3 deep, as far as defensive front. We're going 2 deep. We got a 4-man rotation at the inside linebacker. This is the game that Alabama is built for, schematically. And to see these alignments and to see the way that Michigan has yet to put anything new on the table, I don't know why nobody wouldn't be confident. With how we call defense, I don't know why you wouldn't be confident. I don't know why.
Remember this too, Coach Moogle. Remember this. I watched Iowa, and this is no lie. You guys can go back and check it out. It was 3-0, if I remember. Iowa was in 22 personnel, 1 tight end on the line of scrimmage, 1 tight end offset in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were in a 1992 offset I, like not the fullback right in front of the tailback, but he's offset by the yard over to the right and a tailback, 1 receiver. I was like, and they just kept trying to run the ball up the middle, off the 2, off the 1, off the 3, off the 4.
And that's like, what? And that's what Michigan fans are hanging their hat on and bragging about. And I don't get it, because you're not going to see anything remotely like that when you talk about a quarterback that's, the rumors have it, running a 4.34 40, at 6'2", 230 pounds, a tank. You ain't seen nothing close to that all year. And but get back into the schematics of this thing, man. I don't want to get into the emotional part of it. It's just some things just catch you by surprise when we talk about common sense, man.
For me, when Michigan is on deep, Michigan has a good push up front. I will give these guys that. Their defensive front is very, very aggressive. These guys coming, man. They coming. But this is what I say. What I see about Michigan, they've had, when they play defense, they how can I say it to make the fans understand? They've had to play honest, right? They hadn't had to defend the full length of the field all year long. Like, listen to what I'm saying. These guys have not had to defend the full length of the field all year long. And the few series that I saw against Maryland, where they put them in a situation where they had to defend the entire field, Maryland had success. Now, they couldn't sustain it, but Maryland had success whenever they made Michigan defend the full length of the field. So I see a team that we can take very big advantage of. I really do. I really see a team that if we play our game, especially with Jalen Milroe, we come out and play our game, I really believe we could dump truck this team. Like, I really believe that.
The thing is, Sean, I really think it's not as solid as our defense has played this season. That's the biggest question. And the matchup that it fits perfectly. The eye test says this is the team that Alabama is built to stop. Do we go out there and dominate defensively? Do we go out as interior guys with Jaheim Otis, Tim Keenan, Latham? All those guys played aggressive. Boygby, Tim Smith, all those guys played aggressive the last 2 games of the season, man, and they were beat up. So can they come out and establish that interior, that trench, that dominance in the trenches, man?
I think the biggest question is, can we make them run spread? Because we seen last year in the TCU game that as soon as they got out of those formations that they love to do, and they felt like they had to be in a shootout, very uncomfortable, and they had to run a lot of spread. And JJ McCarthy has some success, but he also made a lot of huge key mistakes that ultimately helped TCU win the game.
You know what's sad, man? Is games like that that Iowa game when they say that they didn't have to run the ball. The thing is, You couldn't. It's not that you didn't have to, you just couldn't. And Iowa's defense came out and they had y'all's number for a majority of that game.
Their
And
offense is just terrible.
their offense was just
That's
not
it.
Terrible.
I
Their
mean,
offense gave them 18 points.
I mean,
Facts.
this is a offense that just didn't score at all this year. I mean, they just didn't score. The offense didn't do anything. And the fact that they were able to create disruption in your backfield multiple times in that game, the fact that they were able to stuff the interior run multiple times that game, the fact that you all had to resort to borderline trickery to get the offense going, back going, like it says a lot. So I like the matchups, our defense versus their offense. Wide receiver, DB wise, they do have a wide receiver in what's the kid's name? Roman Wilson. Heard he was beat up a little bit, but 3 weeks to prepare. Hopefully he's at 100%, because if they're going to do anything downfield as far as being effective, it's going to have to be, targeting that guy out of the slot, trying to catch him with a mismatch against we might catch him against one-on-one with Jalen Key or Malachi Moore. They might test that. I don't think they're going to try to test Kool-Aid or Terrian too much on the perimeter. Maybe if they could get some switch looks, some slip screen like the play we was talking about earlier, getting that tight formation and slipping that tight end basically behind the boundary corner, simulating that block look. I don't know. Matchup wise, what are you guys looking at, as far as personnel? I know one of you highlighted Trez Marshall earlier. What's another guy? You feel like key matchup wise, it doesn't matter if it's in the secondary up front. What's the key matchup you're going to be looking at that you think can impact the game with our defense?
I'm interested to see, do we come out in 2 safeties high with this quarterback? I'm very interested to see that. Are we going to come out with 2 safeties high? Are you going to move? Are you going to move like you was talking earlier? Are you going to play Malachi a little different? Are you going to play Caleb a little different? Or are you going to come out and play a true on the hashes 2 safeties high against this team? Very, very interested to see that. Very interested.
And if we do, man, that means Kevin Steele is confident in a 3 to 4 men containing run game and getting pressure. And if Kevin Steele is confident, it might look shaky early because guys are going to have to figure out the game speed of how things develop with Michigan running their offense instead of it being scout team. Things are, wrinkles are going to be tossed in there. It might be a similar look, but another pre-snap motion coming from strong side instead of weak side, or even just a running back shifting to the right side, still giving the same, play look. So it's going to be interesting. So I'm glad you said that, Sean.
I'll say this real quick. I'm telling this right now. If Alabama's offense can capitalize, and let's say they get a 2 touchdown lead, I can guarantee you we're never leaving that look. We're never ever leaving that look again. The rest of the game we will be in too high because we'll be telling them beat us now. Beat us now
because our too high look is basically committing that one safety in the box. They're just going to flow down into the box.
That's
you
what
can't beat us with our small. You can't beat us with our small personnel out here. I can't wait, man. I'm glad you said that because now that's what I was saying earlier. With all these extra practices, bowl practices, and the way Christian Story has been playing, I would love to see him over top with Malachi Moore or Caleb Downs and letting those guys.
Man.
And as much as I would love to see Amos, Arnold, Kool-Aid look, this ain't a game for that. I like that look when we have to see Texas again. That's when you want those 3 out there cover. Our main thing is coverage. Primary thing is coverage. Work with the fronts to get the pressure, the stunts up front. But this game, Kevin still in that defensive play calling. If he could come out in base personnel and let's draw it out for him. We got the film. Let's draw it out for him real quick. If we come out in base personnel, basically, no matter what they line up in, if they come out, they put both tight ends on the line, go base personnel. Base 12. Even. If we could come out and we can go Mike here. And like I said, this is basically, it'll be Otis or Keenan. I mean, not Keenan. Otis or Boygby. You got Keenan. If we could come out in this look right here, and that's not really a corner, that would be the other safety. That'll be if we come out in this base look here and contain their run. When they come out, if they come here and split this and we, shift formation, whatever we do, and we come here, and we're able to cover like this out of this, that's going to be ugly, y'all. Like, it's not good for Michigan.
I really believe that is the formation that Alabama's going to come out and play. I really, in my heart, believe that. First couple series, anyway. You gonna have to really make us adjust.
Come out of it. Come out of it. Like Tennessee did, like LSU did.
Yep.
I mean, Auburn did. Everybody, Georgia didn't make us come out of it. Coach Saban just saw that it would be easier to go with the 40 front. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that was just a personnel switch. Still was the same look. Still was the same base formation, just personnel was different. So, but if we come out with this personnel grouping, meaning, that's Malachi Moore, that's Caleb Downs, whoever you want as safety, hopefully, in my opinion, I think Story has earned the opportunity to get out there, at least split those reps up there, whether he comes out first series or third series, how they've been rotating. I think he's earned the opportunity, especially if they're getting, success with the counter run game and Key's not feeling here fast enough, or, backside is clearing and he's not there to just clean up, because we know Kool-Aid's going to be aggressive and still in the edge. This safety is important in establishing that backside look. I mean, that backside run support. So that's where Key has struggled. Hopefully we don't have to see that with this type of week. And like you said, Coach Jay, that counter run game, they don't run it a lot, which is surprising to me, because if you look at how they align their formations, like I said, they bring in heavy personnel. They bring in an extra tackle and have a tight end split right here. And they'll have a tight end split here, or a tight end lined up on the edge here. And they'll run this counter run game. They'll pull this guard, and these guys will just slam down, and he'll handle his one, and they'll just pull him in, and they just rely on those guys winning right there. And it's crazy that they trust that and they don't run that more, because they'll have the alignment and it's like they'll go away from it. So just curious to see matchups, personnel, all of that. I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out for this Alabama Crimson Tide versus the Michigan Wolverines. Anything else before we get up out of here, guys? We coming up on our hour mark. I think I've thoroughly enjoyed tonight's stream. This was way more calm and more so in my area of comfort, talking things, drawing it out, looking at it, getting everybody's, not only their visuals, but actually being able to see it. I think we're going to be able to clean it up for y'all fans, for everybody that's here. We're going to be able to clean it up and have it more organized next time. We just want to see if it was going to work tonight. And I don't know if y'all was able to see it very well. If not, give us some reviews on it and we'll get back to it. Coach Sean, take it away. I seen you about to.
I think Coach Saban is going to make J.J. McCarthy beat us. I think that we're going to stop the run. I think we're going to commit resources to stop the run. That's when Michigan gets into their groove, when they're able to run the ball, kind of like anybody else, but Michigan really hangs their hat on that. I feel like if you stop Michigan's run, they don't have a lot of guns. They don't have a lot of bullets in the gun. They don't have a lot of tools in the shed. We don't feed their receivers like that. So I really believe if we can commit some resources without committing too many resources, some extra resources, and stop their run and put it on J.J. McCarthy's shoulders consistently, he'll probably make a play or two. He's a good player, right? But put the game in his hands, right? I watched him the last couple of games of the year, and I'm not confident that kid can beat us. I am not confident in no shape, form, or fashion. I want all the Michigan fans to listen to this. And this is not any hate. This is the truth if you know football. If Penn State had a decent amount of offense, they would have beat you, right? If Ohio State had a competent play caller and didn't panic and stayed,
would have ran the ball. Yeah,
Just would have
run
ran
the
the
ball. They
ball.
would have won the game.
They would have beat you, right? I watched you against Maryland. You can say what you want to about Bama 2 months ago, right? But the bottom line is you're going to be facing a Bama team that has the resources to beat you on the ground, that has the resources to beat you through the air, that has the resources to beat you from the quarterback spot, passing or running. We're going to put it in J.J. McCarthy's hands and see what happens.
Coach J, go ahead, bro. I'm just now able to read comments. Y'all know I've been in the back trying to, do my producer thing. So hold up. Before you go, Coach J, we had a super chat we didn't get to. The Inquisitive Prince, $5 super chat. Roll Tide to you, brother. Appreciate you for pulling up. Man, we had 168 in here live, man. Make sure we running those likes up. But Inquisitive Prince says the Bama interior was laying the wood to the UGA pulling linemen. The trenches is the key to the game, in my opinion. 100% facts, man. 100%. I think we all can agree with that. That's to 100%. any game. Honestly, when you talk about how Alabama defense wants to establish their rhythm and the tone they want to establish as a defense or as a team in general, is one in the trenches.
What about Auburn, bro? Michigan don't even run that type of offense. What are you? Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead,
Coach Jay. Go ahead, man. What's your final thoughts with Alabama defense versus Michigan offense?
No, it's going to be versus Michigan's offense.
Yeah.
No, it'll be very interesting to see what happens because, I agree with Coach Sean. You got to force J.J. McCarthy to beat you. And listen, I mean, again, he had over 300 yards against Ohio State a couple years ago. He had over 300 yards, so we'll give him a lot of credit for what he was able to do in that game. TCU had over 300 yards, but he made a lot of crucial mistakes. You haven't really seen a lot of games where J.J. McCarthy put the team on his back and he had to be the player that was going to win the football game. You just haven't seen it. Michigan doesn't. They're a team that, for the most part, they just don't play from behind. They play in front.
Right.
Right. They love to control time of possession. They love to control the clock. They love to put their defense in silent and try to give them as much energy as possible. I think the biggest issue, the biggest problem is the fact that, again, schematic wise, you're going against a Nick Saban team this is what they did. This is what they did for the first 5-6 years. This is what they mastered in. They bully teams that would bully the bully. This is what Nick Saban would like to try to do. If anything, the only teams that we did struggle with was teams that spread us out. Teams that we had our 320-pound, 30-pound linemen, and we still kind of struggle with this a little bit. We struggle with teams that space us out. That's why I'm saying if we played Washington or if we played Texas in the first round, right, that would be, in my opinion, a much schematic-wise, a much harder matchup. Because you know what those teams are going to do. They're going to spread you out. They're going to keep you on the field. They're going to run a lot of non-huddle. Michigan does not do that. It's a heavy power. It's more power now than it was with I forgot the coach. He's now at he was at Miami till he got fired. But what was it? He coached here. What was his name? He was our receivers coach.
Man, I forgot his name.
Enos.
Nah.
Wait. What'd you say?
He was our receivers coach.
He won an award too, if I remember, at Michigan.
Yeah, he was the best assistant.
Yeah.
It wasn't Enos.
Chad, help me out.
He was at Bama with Mike Loxley. They were there together. Mike Loxley and him.
Not
and didn't he go to Miami? Didn't he go to Miami too?
Michigan. Yes, he coached at Miami. Josh Gaddis. Thank you.
Josh Gaddis. Yes.
With Mike Loxley was there together.
Exactly, because Gaddis ran. It was way more spread, way more speed. But now they're trying to go to more of a balanced look, more balance. But for the most part, Alabama matches that team extremely well. And J.J. McCarthy, when he has to pass, let's be honest, he has really, again, at times he can show that he can play with. He has a really strong sense in the pocket. At times, he can showcase that because he does have an arm. He has a bazooka of an arm. But at times he can showcase that displays first-round talent as far as ball placement. But the problem is he's not consistent with all three. Well, pocket presence rise. He likes to roll out the pocket too much. He panics way too much in the pocket to a point where he likes to roll out to that right, and he likes to try to extend plays. And it's like there are times where I'm like, dude, you have a clean pocket. Why are you trying to roll out? He has a tendency of doing that still to this day. Another tendency he likes to do. He likes to. I'm trying to just describe the best things that fans can understand. But he makes his receivers, I guess, work for the ball, creating a lot of run after the catch situations where instead of him just kind of lofting that ball, having a soft touch and loft it, he just strikes it. And it makes it harder for the receivers to make adjustments. So the receivers have to really work to try to catch these passes at times. And I think the biggest issues is that when you struggle with loft and touch, you're giving defensive backs extra time to go ahead and work for the ball. Because if those receivers have to kind of come back, or if they have to go a little bit to the left or more to the right, when all you had to do was just simply all you have to do is simply just deliver me just a little bit of touch. If you simply throw that off, these defensive backs have the closing speed to absolutely make you pay for it. Like I said in the Georgia game, what happened with Carson Beck? Coach Mook, what have we complimented on Carson Beck a lot? His ball placement,
his timing, man,
and his timing. But some of the things that he struggled in that game, there were a couple times where that ball placement was a little bit off, and there were 3 times we should have picked him off. 3 times. Malachi Moore, Trey Amos. I think it was one more. I think might have been Jalen Key was one of those players. But
Jalen Key undercut one, and then you forgot the second one by Malachi Moore over
and
top
Trey
on
Amos.
the backside.
Yep. 3 times that should have been picked. So our defensive backs
Kool-Aid
have
too.
And
Kool-Aid jumped too early.
Yeah. God, man.
I forgot about that one.
Way too much. Yeah. So we will make teams pay if you're just not on point as far as your ball placement, as far as your loft and touch. That has to get straightened out, and that has to get right. And like I said before, guys, I think this is going to be a much disciplined Alabama team. They like to motion their tight ends, like to try to create a lot of situations where they like to run that inside dig. I just think that from our secondary standpoint, and that Texas game really helped us. The Texas game, the Ole Miss game.
Yes.
These games where you see a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of misdirection, a lot of these kind of complex receiving concepts that will throw off any defense off, because we've had so many of those looks before. That's going to make it, because what are we not seeing? Yeah, you like to run a lot of those dagger route, those little dagger concepts. That's their big shot to play, the dagger concept where you just motion the tight end. Outside receiver, your outside receiver runs a dig, the other receiver runs a post. I mean, we've seen that we've seen that pretty much all the time. We've seen that plenty of times before. So
and they don't have the speed to pressure a safety that what Caleb Downs has seen. Like, show me a
Cornelius Johnson isn't a burner. Roman Wilson isn't a burner. Those are not burner type receivers.
Show me a Malik Neighbors type receiver for Michigan. I mean, show me a Mason Thomas type Mason Taylor type tight end. Show me a Brock Bowers, anything similar to even their second string Oscar Delp. They have some good tight ends at Michigan. I'm not gonna lie, but if you can show me their any film of them looking remotely like the likes of those names I just said, then you'll have me a little bit worried about coming out in base formation. But I just don't see them forcing us out of the base look. And if we do,
especially if we stone them in the run game, if we stop their inside zone, or if we stop that inside zone, which they heavily like to do, they have no backup. Their backup is Jumbo.
You know what Kevin Steele thing is, man, and my thing is, if he can get 7 consecutive negative run plays, he doesn't go away from that look. He will sit that formation out there and throw all of his stunts, all of his spy looks, all of his send 3 drop 8s. He will sit there and throw. I mean, seven negative run plays. He's going to keep that look out there, because now he knows he's forced you into favorable situations to where you're worried about the pressure, you're worried about us committing to the run game. Now your quarterback has to be more accurate, So, and that for guys like Terry and Arnold, for guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry, for guys like Caleb Downs, even Jalen Key when he's in phase, you want guys like those guys to be ready to attack the ball this game. This is the type of game where if they try to drop this guy back, their tackles are really going to be left with some crazy responsibilities. This is a matchup where whoever over top, man, is going to be key also. I think that's where Kevin Steele is probably going to have his most worries, not from schematic standpoint, but personnel wise. Who do I run out there to hurry up and catch rhythm and lock in and be able to play assignment football over top? And there's no reason to get caught in the backfield as the over top guy this game. There's no reason. If they're going to go over top, It's going to be a long developing play. So don't commit until you see the ball. See the ball, then go. So, but
That's what I like
schematically,
to do.
guys, that's I mean, even at the second level, the inside linebackers, you don't have to do too much. You just literally play football this game. This is one of those games where you can rely a lot on your athletic ability if you just be where you're supposed to be. Be where you're supposed to be. Don't try to do the extra play. Be where you're supposed to be. It's gonna come to you because they're going to send it. They're gonna run with it. They're gonna be what they are. They're gonna be who they are. So, in closing, defensively, I think we have the edge personnel wise. I don't see a. I would hate to see Michigan try to really rely on 5-man pass pro. They're going to have to dedicate 6 or more in pass pro and pass it downs.
Yeah, because their tackles will get ate up. They're going to get eaten up alive. Every single good edge rushing team they played against, they have gotten murdered. I'm not talking about they've just gotten beat. They've like how we looked against how Landon Jackson looked against Caden Proctor. That's pretty much how Michigan's tackles have played against when they play against really good edge rushers. They have gotten killed, executed, like the French Revolution,
right?
like
And
King Louis.
this is the type of game. This is the type of game where you see a guy like Tim Keenan just eat because they're going to have to commit outside. They're going to have to commit resources to Braswell and Turner. This is the first year in a while, man. We've had such equal production from both sides as far as what you can get off the edges. I mean, Will Anderson did his thing for the first year. Then he had a lot of key spots where he just wasn't explosive or effective. This last year, but this year Turner and Braswell, and then the way they sprinkle Q Rob in to spell those guys, that's a lethal. Like this Michigan tackles and tight ends is going to have some issues, and I don't think You think Jim Harbaugh going to be prideful and stupid enough to let his tight ends handle Braswell or Dallas Turner?
Only in run block situations. He's going to try it.
That's going to get ugly for them. I mean,
because he did it against Chop. He did it against Chop. He did it against Isaac, and he did it against Tuamalo. And they got murdered in the run game. That's what people don't really talk about. They got murdered. The only like for the most part, those tight ends are only good when it comes to help situations. They're really good in their responsibility when it simply comes to help. But when it simply just comes to taking on that individual assignment, which they have done, they've gotten killed every time.
And that's what I like to allude to, man. It's not just talking about what if. We're talking about what these guys have done in their conference, 13-0, whoop-de-doo. But you guys have not just like whipped guys. This is literally just your highest, like I said, your highest ranking offense is number 39 in the country. And that was I think that was Penn State is the highest rank. They're ranked higher than Ohio State, offensive production wise. That's why you can say we have strongest defense conference, because every offense in that conference is trash. Every offense in that conference is trash, including yours. And we're going to show you.
Oh, my bad.
Go ahead, brother.
I was about to say, and I keep seeing everybody keep talking about Auburn game. And to piggyback on what Coach Mook said, we don't have to worry about Michigan quarterback having 25 carries. We don't have to worry about Michigan running up tempo, trying to run 90 plays. You know what I mean? Things like that sort of give us problems. You are going to play the type of ball that Alabama is built to stop, right? Slant, sluggos, all this normal stuff, right? And those are the type of teams that we feast on as the Bulldogs.
Hey, them teams that average those 2 to 3 second plays.
Yep.
Like play time per play.
You allow us personnel changes. You allow us to match personnel with down the distance.
You running into a cloud of dust. Your linemen got to get up. Our linemen are running on the field. It's just perfect, man. Like I can't wait. I think it's gonna be interesting.
Coach, just real quick before you end, because I'm tired of these Michigan fans keep acting like Michigan just has like a top 10 rushing offense in the country. If you would think based off what you hear that Michigan can just has the greatest offensive line in the world when it comes to line of scrimmage, what would you think their rushing offense would rank?
way they talk, you think top 5
Can I get a guess to see where they rank right now?
They
in that
they
conference?
they don't want to. They don't even want to talk about that. Like
20th.
I'm about to pull it. I'm about to pull
No,
everything.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And maybe Coach Boo can show it to you. They're 59th in the country in rushing offense.
Carlos is
So
59th.
we want they're 59th in rushing offense. They're 42nd in the country when it comes to rushing yards per game. Like you would think that this Michigan rushing offense is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You're 59th in the country. That's your strongest suit. You're 59th. Like what are we talking about here? The only
That
reason
means you're not better than LSU.
exactly.
You're not better than them running the ball.
You're not better than Texas rushing game.
You're not better than Texas.
You're not better than Washington's rushing game. Matter of fact, out of all the playoff teams that are in
You're
here,
not better than
you are the
Tennessee.
worst.
You're not better than Texas A&M. And I'm just talking about teams that we've seen.
Oh my God.
You're not better than USF.
Starters didn't
y'all
play the first quarter. Stop it. Your starters played in Maryland. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
Your starters played in Maryland.
That's a fact. I mean, LSU had the number 4 ranked rushing offense in the nation to finish it. Like, I don't get it. Kentucky. I mean,
there's 7 SEC teams that are inside the top 40 in rushing offense.
Carlos, I'm starting to think you're a swimmer, not a football guy, because you talk crazy. We have a far better rushing game. No, you don't, Carlos. No, you don't, brother. And the fact that you don't. Look, the fact that you think you do bodes to what Coach Jay was just saying.
Oh, right. You're right.
Like, dude.
But anyway, man, I like Carlos, man. He come back. And I
too.
think he already admitted that he's just getting the talk in now because he already know the truth. But
it's not just Carlos. It's all these Michigan fans
a lot of
on social media. Yeah, Efron. It's not just Carlos. Carlos is cool.
Even Auburn fans getting in on it, like if we was able to run, do y'all not want to the little credit that we want to give y'all for being able to have a competent coordinator / head coach that can scheme up could scheme any team to success, any offense. He finds a way to make it look decent. But we try to give y'all a little credit and y'all coming out here talking crazy with these Wolverines. Like, okay. Anyway, y'all make sure y'all go follow us, man. Each one of us. I'm gonna pass it to my bros, man. Make sure y'all hitting us up on Twitter, man. Coach Jay, take it on, brother.
Jant716 on Twitter. Definitely follow me there. I'm gonna get a little bit more active. I've just been snooping. I've just been stupid around, but I'm gonna get more active because these Michigan fans are pissing me off. Carlos is cool. Carlos is the only cool Michigan fan in here, man. He stands his ground. So I appreciate Carlos, man. But no, these Michigan, these so-called Michigan fans that want to talk about how their line of scrimmage is so dominant and how their rushing offense is so great, but yet their rushing yards per carry is literally subpar. Their rushing offense is legit subpar. It's just amazing to me what these fans are really to go the length of. And the funny part is, 2 years ago, these guys were quiet. You never even heard of a Michigan fans. You never even heard that Ann Arbor even existed. Now all of a sudden they're just out of the woodworks talking about how they own Ohio State. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, Jan716 on Twitter, YouTube, Jan Sports. Definitely catch us because I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait to get more into these talks. But yeah, shout out to Carlos, man. Shout out to Carlos.
Coach, for me, likewise with me at JMHO, just my humble opinion, sports talk on Twitter. And right here on Bama Football on YouTube, like Coach Jay say, Coach Smook say, shout out to Carlos. But at the same time, Carlos, man, you got to be realistic with yourself, brother. Just be realistic, man. That's all I asked you to do. You said you did what you wanted to against any team. No, you didn't, sir. I watched that Maryland game and they whipped you for about 3.5 to 4 quarters. You know what I mean? So you got a rude awakening coming, brother, in January. Trust me. And I hope all the Michigan fans know that.
Right. And y'all already know where y'all can find me at Coach Smook on every platform, especially on Twitter, getting real active. Just want to make my final statement on this argument. I didn't talk about Blake Corum or this rushing attack because I really don't feel like it's going to be effective. This is not the best 1-2 running back duo that Alabama is going to see this season. We've seen far better offenses with multiple running backs. I highlighted some in my tweet. Y'all saw it. This defense, our defense is literally built for this type of game. And if we were able to have a 5, contain their run game, that Georgia run game with 4-man, 3-man front, committing 5 to the box, 6 to the box, not having to commit that 7 or the 8 to the box, and literally contain one of the top rushing offenses in the country. One of the top rushing offenses in the country. Statistically, yard per carry average from both their backs, literally 2 backs that were beat up for half the season and still had better yard per carry average than what Michigan is bringing to the table. If you gave those running backs, those same 2 running backs, 20 plus carries a piece, they still wouldn't have as many. I don't think they would still have many be within 50 carries, 50 the same amount of carries as Blake Corum. So I mean, with opportunities against trash defenses, against trash offenses, you're going to get more opportunities to run the ball. Blake Corum is not all that, and we're going to show you that. I think the Crimson Tide about to roll. I ain't gonna get my score prediction till next week, but yeah, man, appreciate everybody pulling up tonight. And y'all know how we do, man. We keep it real. We keep it 100. Next week, we're going to break down some offense. Alabama's offense versus Michigan's defense. Wednesday show, I'm not sure what the deal is going to be for Wednesday, being that it's, a lot of bowl games coming up this weekend. We're going to probably jump into a few of those games coming up. Got some entertaining ones coming up this weekend. So definitely want to get into those and talk about those. Invite all the college football, man. He said, I absolutely love the arrogance of a 12-1 team who won most of their games by 1 score, the losing fan base in a conference
That
where
alone,
you would lose.
That alone should tell you he don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
In a conference where you would lose every game that we won by 1 score, you would lose by 14, 18 points. But we ain't gonna talk about that. We'll say that for Wednesday. You get what I'm saying? Like, bro, stop it. Kentucky,
Ohio State fans are not cheering for Michigan. This is what I know for a fact.
100%, because they know if they honestly believe that the backup, they feel like the Brown kid, what his name was,
Devin Brown.
Devin Brown, yeah,
Devin Brown. That kid, just his legs, his ability to do what he does athletically would have just. And y'all about to see Jalen Milroe. You see what I'm saying? You got Coach Sean yawning. It's time to go to bed.
Yeah,
y'all putting us. Man. I mean, that's how we're gonna be watching that game. We're gonna be falling asleep in the third quarter, and we got to do a post-game show after that. Oh boy, man, it's gonna be so fun. And Carlos, you better show up too. Hey,
hold on, Coach Smooth. Before you get out, let me make him mad right quick. Don't steal our signs, Carlos. I know how y'all do it, Michigan.
Y'all
y'all do.
Y'all some Cheetos. Y'all be cheating. Y'all don't talk X's and O's. Y'all talk Cheetos. That's what y'all
know
talk.
How y'all do. Facts.
But anyways, man, it's been fun, man. Y'all take it easy. This is your boy, Coach Smoot, Coach Jay, Coach Sean. Catch y'all on the socials. Don't forget to continue to support Bama football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson, man. Bringing all you the best Bama content out there right now. Be looking out for some collabs coming up soon, man. We've been having Ty Hayes on the channel a couple times, having some goats pull up, having some good callers call in, and we getting rid of the roaches. So y'all remember Ephraim, all y'all guys on Roach Detail, keep them roaches up out of here. But yeah, all right, roll tide, y'all. We'll be out of here.
Roll tide.
Roll tide.